Egypt is a beautiful country. We have many tourism fields and many touristic destinations. We have the Pharaonic, the historical, the Muslim, the Coptic, the beach tourism. We have many beautiful places to be visited by the tourists. We are enjoying the beautiful weather all over the year. So to shed more light on how to take steps in order to revive the tourism sector, we are very much delighted to have our dear guest for today, Mr. Samir Abbas. He is an Egyptologist and tour guide. Good morning, sir, and thank you very much for being our guest for today.
A very good morning to you, sir. As my dear colleague Mahi mentioned, Egypt and tourism, I think they are two key words which whenever tourism is mentioned, Egypt should be mentioned and vice versa. But what's the case now?
So before talking about what's the case now, if you excuse me, for talking about the advantages we have in tourism already.
Please.
We have a great advantages of Egypt, which is I don't think that any other country all over the world which have the same advantages which is Egypt has. We have a good weather, we have desert, we have Nile Valley, we have culture, and on top of that we have most of the biggest amount of ancient world history and monuments. We have a strategic location as well, and on top of that we have a very friendly people.
Indeed.
So you cannot tell that without hearing the impressions of people visiting Egypt who traveled around the world, after dealing with local Egyptians. I'm not talking about dealing with those who are vendors in Giza pyramids, and this can be a different experience, so which is, I wish we can have more control in this subject, but when they manage to deal with an average Egyptians, they realize that how Egypt had a great advantage, especially the human power on it.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was attending a festival in Fayoum, the pottery festival, in Tunis village in Fayoum. I took my wife and we have a short walk in the village. By coincidence, we ended into a courtyard, a private courtyard, which is owned by a family. And the lady, she's an Italian, and her husband is a Spanish.
Very interesting.
They are living in Egypt for 30 years.
In Tunis village.
In Tunis village. They are living in Egypt in 30 years. And they have a house there for more than 15 years. So they are working in translation.
Yes. Sorry for interruption here, but Mr. Samir, we want to know more about our beautiful country and, of course, the beautiful place, the beautiful village of Tunis, because we have just starting to hear about this place recently. So can you shed more light about Tunis village in Fayoum Governorate?
Definitely. So that's one of my favorite destinations. But I will just I asked the lady one question.
Yep.
What you like most about Egypt to stay all that long time? She said one word: the Egyptians.
People.
The people. Okay, so that's one of our great advantages. Talking about Tunis village and the great and unique atmosphere there. First of all, we should thank the French lady Eveline for starting a pottery school there nearly 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
Nearly 15 years ago. She came.
Quite interesting.
It was in the middle of nowhere. It is a beautiful village, but like any of the other villages in Egypt, overlooking Fayoum Lake. And she decided to settle there. She was influenced by an Egyptian engineering. His name is Ramses Wissa Wasif. In the 1950s and 60s, he was following the footsteps of Hassan Fathi, the famous architect, and he decided to make a carpet school in Al-Harraniyya here in Giza, a carpet school in a way to teach and attract especially kids, to teach them how to read and write for those who cannot make it to the school, and giving them skills of have handmade carpets and sell that for a benefit. So she followed the same footsteps, but in pottery, and now she has the most amazing pottery that's like an art piece. You can find it there. They have a market there, not only in Egypt. They have a market all over the world. Which is their work stands out. When I decided to buy actually Christmas gifts for my wife, she's an American, so we couldn't find a better thing except buying them Christmas gifts from there. So not only, so that also attracted the attention of artists. To go and settle in Tunis village and building houses. If some of the most beautiful traditional style houses is built there. So, and small motels as well, like a great guest house for people who would like to go and have a weekend vacations. And especially this is like 2.5 hours drive from Cairo. So and activities there. There's lots of activities: bird watching, safari tours, horse riding. Going to the lake, or just sitting, enjoying the quiet and
Sir, what are the most important touristic attractions in Fayoum Governorate from your point of view in general?
Okay, so the big mistake when we promote Fayoum as a destination, we think about the water wheels, right?
Yes.
Ain Salim, right? And Karun Lake. There is nothing comes to our mind as an average Egyptian, and even for those who are working in the travel sector. Apart from that, but actually, from my point of view, it doesn't make sense to go to like a town which is designed like a city with a square and streets and with a heavy traffic as well, and to see 3 water wheels operating in the square in the middle of the city. So that's not a big deal. So Saline, Saline as well, which is now there is almost no water coming from this spring anymore. And when you go there, it is tiled with ceramics and marbles. It's like a tap. That's it. So, but for those who would like to go to Al Fayoum, that's what I recommend. I recommend Tunis Village, which is within Al Fayoum, Rayyan Valley, a beautiful place, bird watching, safari trip, and the Wales Valley. The Wales Valley is one of the World Heritage Sites now, which is have kind of relics which is not exist in any, not just relics. It has a beautiful rock formations which is not exist elsewhere. Not only, there is also another part of Al Fayoum very much neglected, which is western part of Fayoum Lake. So the good road is the eastern part. In the west side, there is some of the greatest historical attractions. Historical attractions. Untouched. For example, one of the most well-preserved ancient Greek city, known as the Mayas Sabah, dates back to nearly 2,200 years ago, with a giant wall still standing, with a temple and houses not being excavated yet. So there is a small temple which is on the mountain top, which is known as Qasr Saga. There is a prototype of an ancient monastery which is known as Deir Abu Lifa. There is the petrified forest. The petrified forest that was like an ancient forest. It became like a trees became into stones. So we have an ancient Egyptian quarry which is for basalt, and the oldest road in the history of mankind, the oldest paved road 4,500 years ago, has been paved by the ancient Egyptian kings to produce the stones which is used as the tiles for the temples next to Khufu pyramid. It's come from there, and many other things as well. And that's hardly anybody. When people think about safari or exploring the desert, think about Bahariya. Bahariya, you need to, and the White
oasis,
Desert.
you mean?
Yes, and the White Desert, you need to drive from Cairo 600 kilometers or 550 kilometers.
But it deserves.
To get into the White Desert. It deserves. But if you have 2 days tour, like a weekend tour.
If we do have a short time period,
So
of course.
In this case, Al Fayoum government had a great advantage.
Sir, of course, I'd like to promote or to have details about every and each place in Egypt. But before going into this, I've asked you about the case. I'm not here focusing on saying what's going on and how much it's a pity to find our lovely places empty or not attracting many tourists as we expect. But I'd like to tell the Egyptians and to ask you if the domestic tourism can solve this problem now, or at least can help.
I don't think so. Because I think that the importance of overseas tourism or international tourism is to bring a foreign currency, which is that will not be happening with the domestic tourism. Domestic tourism is very important, but I would like to approach the domestic tourism in a different way. Unfortunately, we only think and focus on domestic tourism and giving discounts for Egyptians only when there is crisis happening, right? So, but if there is a good like international travel season, I do booking myself, and unfortunately I can sometimes I book for my foreigner guest with a lower rate than the Egyptian rate. That's a fact. And only when there is a crisis happen like that, so they start giving a good promotion for Egyptians. If we are thinking about like giving incentives for local tourists, we have to have a good policy, and this policy is stable policy all year round, not only.
Not to depend on
the situation. Only when we have a crisis, so we will start asking them to go and fill these resources so to get people working. Second,
Yeah.
so there is Sharm el-Sheikh is a very beautiful destination and has a very fancy resorts, and but I don't think that that the majority of the Egyptians they will be able to afford that. So what I think is there's still lots of free lands in Sharm el-Sheikh areas and territories. So giving licenses for special hotels being built with exemptions from taxes and for a middle class and for low fees, like they can afford it, and like built in a certain way, which is not expensive, but that also will attract a big number of Egyptians, which is they cannot afford the fancy resorts even with the discounts, and that will be also help for a national security reason, because to make your own citizens familiar that's about Sinai and Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada, that's how they understand that these areas belong to them, and they will work hard to keep
Indeed.
it as it is.
Mr. Samir Abbas, Egyptologist and tour guide, thank you very much, sir, for being our guest for today. Thank you very much for your input.
And by this, we come to the end of this episode of our breakfast show. Please stay tuned only on Nile TV International always for more updates, news, and programs. This was Nermeen Abdurrahman, and I had all the pleasure to have with me my dear colleague, Mahis Rabia.
Thank you very much, Nermeen, and thank you very much, our dear viewers. Until we meet tomorrow with a new crew and a new episode of The Breakfast Show, it's goodbye.